We are all very excited to have such a wide and diverse group in this session on using science-based targets for water to guide corporate action. A very warm welcome and a big thank you to all of you. Just before we start, I would like to inform you that there will be a short participant Q&A towards the end of the session. So if you have any questions you would like to ask, feel free to post it on Untitled Chat for this session. So this is a planetary emergency. According to the World Economic Forum, $44 trillion of economic value generation, that's over half the world's total GDP, is moderately or highly dependent on nature and its services. However, all of Earth's natural systems are currently under unsustainable pressure, and we are currently losing nature faster than it can restore itself. Failure to tackle nature's decline will increase nature-related risks. And what does this mean? Disrupting supply chains, threatening global food security, costing the global economy at least $479 billion per year, which amounts to $10 trillion by 2050. Companies hold the key to transform our economic systems in a way that protects and restores nature, while enabling society to thrive. And how can they do that? Science-based targets for nature and climate provide companies with this guidance. My name is Harasi Faki. I work as a technical manager in CDP Worldwide, and I'm part of the Science-Based Targets Network's Freshwater Hub. I'm pleased to have with me in this session Margot Conover, Senior Analyst in General Mills, and Shannon Quinn, Global Water Stewardship Leader in Procter & Gamble. Thank you both for being here today, and I'm really looking forward to listening about your journey in setting science-based targets for water so far. But before we start with our discussion, let's give a little bit of a background. What is the Science-Based Target Network, SBTN? It is a global expert network of over 50 leading organizations aiming at collectively define what is necessary to do enough to stay within Earth's limits and meet society's needs. Why is it important to join and take action? Science-based targets give companies a clear pathway to competitiveness and resilience by using science to define their role in protecting and restoring nature. Reversing nature loss in line with science will create a future of resilient businesses and sustainable economies. It is also essential if we are to achieve our global climate targets to halve emissions by 2030. What are the science-based targets, SBTs, and SBTs for nature? SBTs are measurable, actionable, and time-bound objectives informed by the best available science. Companies are already reducing their greenhouse gas emissions by setting science-based targets for the climate. But we need to transform the way we use natural resources alongside decarbonizing our economy. By setting science-based targets for all Earth's systems, companies contribute towards halting global warming, preserving freshwater resources and water security, supporting biodiversity, preserving and regenerating land systems, and securing healthy and diverse oceans. Now, what are the SBTs for water? These are part of the science-based targets for nature. They aim at providing clear guidance to companies to minimize their impact on water and identify opportunities to invest in collective solutions. Setting SBTs for water will enable companies to future-proof growth without depleting or polluting water resources and help drive the transition towards a water-secure world. So by now, why setting science-based targets should be clear. I will now explain how companies can take action. The SBTN has developed a 5-step approach to guide companies through their target setting process. Under each of these steps, methods specific to water have been developed by the SBTN's Freshwater Hub. In step 1, the company gathers existing data to estimate its value chain-wide impacts and dependencies on water. The output is a list of potential issue areas and locations for target setting. Step 2 focuses on the prioritization of key issue areas and locations for taking action. The company considers actions across its different spheres of influence, from its direct operations to the landscape surrounding the value chain. In step 3, the company starts collecting baseline data for the prioritized issue areas and locations to define what indicators will be used for target setting, determine the desired condition for these indicators, evaluate the required degree of response, define other contributors and the extent of their contribution, and allocate fair share of responsibility. In step 4, the company utilizes the SBTN's action framework and best practice for implementation to develop grounded plans to deliver on its targets. The last step, that's step 5, focuses on monitoring the company's progress towards the target set and reporting publicly on this progress. So after developing these steps, they had to be tested. 16 companies from different sectors expressed an interest to be part of the piloting phase. A selection process followed where certain criteria were applied and General Mills, P&G, and Suntory were picked. A number of companies that were not selected, they still wanted to be part of this process, and they are currently piloting it on their own. I would now like to bring in our two speakers, Margot and Shannon. And may I ask both of you to share a brief history of your company's water target setting journey, the benefits of participating in the pilot, and key learnings to date. So yeah, let's start with Shannon and then Margot.
Great, thank you so much for having us today. We've been very happy to be part of the pilot. Our journey began in 2015. We started then to look at how to set targets and specifically how to set a goal around water that would build upon previous goals on efficiency and efficiency of our products that touch people's lives inside of their homes every day. And we identified the largest water footprint areas in our value chain, and then we assessed the water risk exposure within each of those main areas. And then based on the findings of the risk assessments, we were able to prioritize basins in priority markets with consumers, suppliers, and facilities that were facing high or extremely high water stress. We prioritized 18 basins for target setting and action. As a result of the risk assessment process, we were able to first come out with a broad ambition, a broad goal that we would help to drive forward our water stewardship program. And that goal is to protect water for people and nature in priority basins. And so that broad ambition allowed us to really drive forward action and work on the ground now to address the water challenges that are happening there now. But we also recognize that there's a need to develop a quantitative target at the basin level in order to help drive, track, and communicate progress, both at the basin level and also at the enterprise level. And so being part of the science-based target for water pilot has really given P&G the opportunity to share our journey and the challenges that come along the way to do, this practical application of the methodology. And we've also benefited from the SBTN's perspective and the guidance that they've been able to give us on what to think about differently, or that we're thinking about things correctly in the target setting journey. They've also helped us look critically at our risk assessment approach and better understand what the future expectations might be for the next generation of corporate water targets. And in terms of challenges, there's been a few. I'll start with one. I just think in general, taking a process that's typically been time and resource intensive and working on how to simplify that without losing important insights. So this methodology, for example, has been, it's been a challenge for us to figure out, what are the parts, what are those processes and the data that the methodology is asking for, and what does the language look like, the language and the data and the processes look like in a company, and trying to figure out how we harmonize those and do the read across between what the methodology is asking for and what is actually available within the company. And then we've worked on already coming up with solutions by talking, having an open dialogue among all of the members and coming to the hub with those questions and getting good guidance from them. So we're still on the journey and we're excited to see where it ends up.
That is wonderful to know, and thank you so much, Shannon. Margaret, the floor is yours.
Thanks, and so much of that resonated, Shannon. I feel like our company has had a very similar experience with working on the science-based target pilot. General Mills, as you guys probably know, is a global food company, and we have over 100 brands from Cheerios to Yoplait to Larabar, and that means we source ingredients globally, and we also have manufacturing sites around the world. As well as a food company, we really depend on abundant, clean water to grow our ingredients and manufacture our products. And for us, that means 99% of our water impact is beyond our own manufacturing operations, about 85% in agricultural sourcing. So as a result of all of that, we have had a water stewardship commitment since 2013, which is to champion development of water stewardship plans by 2025 for our company's most material and at-risk watersheds. And that's led us to have 10 priority watersheds today. This commitment in the past has really focused on a holistic approach to watershed health, as well as broad collaboration with other stakeholders in the basin, because as you all know, watersheds are very big. So any single stakeholder is going to be a small user of the total. This kind of collaboration helps us mitigate business risk associated with water, and we've always used a context-based approach to our goal setting in our priority watersheds. But where we've really been challenged in the past is to figure out how to set precise targets to address our fair share of water impact. And that's really where the science-based target pilot is helping us to dig into our risk assessment and then get at what that fair share of impact is that we need to address in agricultural sourcing in particular, and then get more precise on the way that we're focusing in each basin. So as we've been going through the SBT methodology, it's really helped us update and tweak our risk assessment process, and happily has confirmed that we were going in the right direction and had selected the appropriate basins on which to focus our efforts. We've completed steps 1 and 2, assess and prioritize so far, and now we're digging into step 3, measure and set, in the San Joaquin Valley in California, which is where we source almonds, tomatoes, dairy, and a number of specialty crops, as well as the Ganges River in India, where we source wheat. And this is helping us test the SBT methodology and our sourcing footprints in these 2 important priority basins. It's also helping us envision what the next phase of our water stewardship approach can look like, and really tailor that to our company's footprint and focus it in the right areas. So we're super excited about how this pilot is helping us envision and set goals for agricultural sourcing, and then linking up some of our agriculture programs like regenerative agriculture to water more explicitly.
Thank you, Margaret. And yeah, so we've heard about how SBTN has helped or provided guidance with the water target setting. I was wondering about the challenges, if you can share some more information. And that brings us to my next question, that is, what have been some of the challenges faced so far, and how are you and the Hub working to overcome these? Margaret, would you like to start first?
Sure. I mean, the biggest challenge is also the exact same reason why we're participating in this pilot, which is agriculture. So as I mentioned, most of our water impact is beyond our own manufacturing operations, and understanding what that water footprint in agriculture is a huge challenge, even in California, where there is robust and abundant data about crop yields, hydrology, irrigation rates, and on and on. California has 2 water sources we need to account for: surface water delivered through a complex canal system overlapping a lot of different subbasins, as well as groundwater in varying states of stress. So we're working with the team to use a combination of satellite sensing and data verification from local water management agencies to map our footprint in 2 counties in California to start. And then even more challenging is the Ganges Basin, which is much less data rich and in some ways more complex than California. And we're working with the team right now to get creative on what that methodology can look like in a less data-rich environment. So that's definitely still something we're working through as a team. And our hope is all of this challenge that we're digging through right now will translate into usable insights for other companies on how to set targets for agricultural sourcing, as well as inspiring people to do the challenging work of looking upstream in their value chain where they may have water impact beyond owned operations.
That's really great. And yeah, really useful to know. Thank you, Margaret. Shannon, what about PNG?
I think there's 2 main challenges. One I kind of mentioned already in the introduction, which is the practical application of the method and the, various, like the differing vocabulary or asking for a data set or looking at an external data set and trying to put your company into the box of the definitions from an external data set. And so we've worked through that really by having open communication about, look, our company has many different products. We sell products from over-the-counter medications to, shampoos to razors. And so trying to fit into that initial box of trying to identify what sector you should even start looking at looking at, and then defining what those impacts are or where your impact was challenging in the beginning, but that open dialogue and coming back to the hub and trying to get advice. And in the end, justifying the decision to be able to move forward faster has worked well. And the other piece for us, so Margot's kind of on the agricultural upstream part of where their impact is. And for us, it's on the downstream. So where people are using our products in their homes and using water to use our products, we see 96% of our water footprint in that downstream area of the value chain. And this is one of the least developed areas of the methodology. And so it's been really challenging to move quickly through the second step of the methodology. And we've had to ask ourselves a lot of different questions and go back to the hub and have a lot of discussions about things like, do we include water quality in the target setting? Is it maybe more appropriate for some industries in the downstream versus others? And how do you prioritize that? And we're still working through a lot of these questions as we're finishing up step 2, and we're hoping to move into step 3 in the next week or 2.
Thank you, Shannon. And thank you both. This is really valuable information and great takeaways for everyone, including the hub. So now, what advice would you give to other companies interested in this process? Margaret?
I would just say try it out. This process is a big challenge, but going through it has helped us and could help any company uncover so many new insights and questions that ultimately help you engage in the most impactful way possible, wherever on that value chain your greatest impact lies. And as Shannon mentioned, I would also love to plug looking to the upstream and downstream of value chains. So much of water stewardship work to date has rightly emphasized efficiency at manufacturing sites, which is often what our companies have the greatest control over and is absolutely a vital part of the story. But we also have a responsibility to consider our full water footprint as companies, and the SBT methodology is just awesome at generating insights into opportunities up and down the value chain from the very beginning to the very end of the life of products that we make.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think it is kind of jumping in. And even if you've been doing this for a while already, I would consider I've been in this space for at least 5 years, and it still gave me new insights and new things to consider. And just the process itself, while sometimes a bit frustrating or it feels different than what we're used to, think if you have patience and persistence, you'll be able to pull new insights from it and maybe think about your program also in a different way. And on the other side, you know, pulling in some experts, either you've been working with or you haven't worked with yet. Many of them on the hub, you know, the freshwater hub team could be helpful as well. And just remembering that it's a journey, and to look out for the SBT methodology when it comes out to help inform how you might update your target setting process, or have it kind of influence what you've already been doing, would be a good thing to look out for too towards the end of the year.
Thank you both. So it seems like we have a little bit of time for maybe one question from the audience. So this is one. How does this approach differ from other water target approaches like context-based targets or replenishment targets?
I find it, I've read all of those and used them kind of in the process that we've taken so far, and I find it complementary and just a little bit more detailed, like really detailed and a bit more prescriptive at this point than some of the other methodologies. But maybe Margo, you had the same experience, but I think through this journey I felt good about having confirmation that the process that we took before was correct. You know, it was kind of in line with the way that target setting has developed over time. And this is maybe just taking it kind of one step further. So I think it's in line with what has been recommended in the past, and maybe just a little bit more prescriptive.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then just emphasize the science part of it, that this approach is very rigorous in terms of the number of variables that it considers, and how it incorporates different scientific disciplines to determine the focus and the level of effort that you're going to put into any particular basin. And I totally agree, Shannon. I think that they're very complementary.
Cool. Thank you both. Thank you both for answering this question. I think I will move on because I don't think we have any more time for participant questions. And yeah, so just to give one update, the science-based targets for water will be made available for public consultation in early 2022. And I would like to end this session with this. When businesses incorporate science-based targets to tackle both nature loss and climate change into their strategies, they create immense opportunities and become more resilient. We are at a turning point. There is really no time to lose. We invite all companies to start their journeys now towards achieving nature and climate science-based targets, and practically contribute towards building a future that we will all be proud of. And yeah, in that point, I would really like to thank Margot and Shannon for joining us today and sharing valuable information about their target setting journey so far. But also, I would like to thank each and every one of you for attending this session and being such an amazing audience. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your days. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.